So this is today's challenge. It's called vowel balance. Given a string, determine whether the number of vowels in the first half of the string is equal to the number of vowels in the second half. That sounds easy enough. The string can contain any characters. The letters A, E, I, O, and U in either uppercase or lowercase are considered vowels. Okay, makes sense. If there's an odd number of vowels, odd number of characters, wow, I can't read, crazy. If there's an odd number of characters in the string, ignore the center character. That sounds about right, so I think that makes sense. Let's start off with the design, so with the flowchart, let's see how we can work our way to the code. So, we're starting inputting the string, convert the string into an array, split the string array into two halves and ignore the middle character, create an array of vowels. This might happen at the start or the middle, it doesn't really matter to be fair. Take each half and filter the halves array. Find the length of both filtered arrays and compare them with each other. Then we have a decision, so if length of first half equals length of second half, return true, if not, return false, and we end the function. So let's actually try to solve that using JavaScript. To convert a string into an array, we use a method. So let's call the array split array. No, split array. Let's call it each character array. Each char array. Each char r. Okay, wait. Each char r. Each char r. Each char r. Each char r. Okay, each char r. So const each char r equals s is the string here dot split. So the split method converts the string into an array, and then you use the quotation marks to specify what is split. So if you put full stop, it's going to split the array after every full stop. So if you put nothing, it's going to just take each character which we actually want. Then in our design here, what we could have done is we could have said if array dot length, or if length of the array is an odd number, then ignore middle character. But since we didn't do that here, we just done the code. Just want to waste time doing that again. So if each char r dot length, oh, there should be brackets here, divided by 2, no, divided by 2. This equals 1. So that's to check for an odd number, because so this operator means that it gets a remainder. So any odd number, obviously, divided by 2, you're gonna have an odd number, which is gonna be 1. So if it gets to 1, that makes it an odd number. So if it's odd, we are gonna cut the array into 2, but ignore the middle one. So to split an array, we usually call a splice method. Should we make a copy of the array first? Do we need to? Don't think we need to. No, don't think we need to. So if it's this, we can use splice, or we can just use a for loop to get the first 5 numbers. So const, actually, let's create an empty array up here. So const empty array equals this. Let's call it first half array, because we only need the first half and second half. Const first half array and const second half array equals this. I keep saying array, but I'm actually typing R. So first half R, second half R. I just use R because typing array is just long. So if it's odd, we want to create a for loop. So I equals 0, where I is less than each character array dot length divided by 2. I want to do math trunc for that. So math trunc as well is a method that helps to turn a decimal into a whole number. Then I plus plus. So I plus plus just make sure that you increment I by 1 each time. Is this correct? Each character array dot length divided by 2. Is that what we need? So let's just solve something quickly with math. So if we have an array of, let's say, 7 numbers, we probably want to have a 3 and a 3 and one number in the middle, and that number gets deleted from the face of the earth. So we want the first 3 and the last 3. So 7 divided by 2 is going to give you 3.5, which if you truncate is going to be 3. So that's probably what we want. I can't speak today. What we want? Then should be less than equals to, because also wants to be equal to 3 as well. Oh no, because we're making I the index of the array as well, and array is 0 indexed, so we want it to probably be less. Yeah, that makes sense. So for that, we want to then push each value into the first half array. So first half array dot push. Sorry, that should be half. The push, we want to push this array, so each char r, then I. What this means is that each character, so the character in the index of I in each r array will be pushed into first half array. Let's see what that looks like first. So what I tend to do is I tend to return, so if I'm trying to check something, I want to test it, I tend to return that in, and then so that when I go and run a test, I can then see what I'm trying to do. So let's return first half r, and then const test equals, let's just pick a random test from here, pick the first one. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, console log test. Oh, sorry, I forgot to define this, so let I. Yep, does as intended. Then we can then do the for loop again. So for let, again, same I. You know what? We can use I because in the for loop, any declared value in the for loop stays in that loop. So you can also use it outside because it's local. That's why I'm using I again without problems. Let I equals I less than math.trunc each char r dot length. No. So what we want here is let I be less than each char r dot length. I'll explain why I'm doing that differently in a bit. So I plus plus, and then second half r dot push each char r I. Now this I should be different because we're starting from we're trying to do the second half. So let's say so let's copy this because we're going to need this. So I equals this. Probably plus 1. So all this plus 1. Man, why are you doing this? Yeah. Let's see if that works, and I'll explain why I did that. Yep, it worked. Now, the reason why I use this is because since it's going to be the second half, I cannot be 0 because 0 is going to be the first index, which we don't want. So we want to start from the middle of the array, which is why I use the math trunc. Then each length divided by 2. So I split the array into 2, the length into 2, then got the integer figure for it, and then I added 1 because obviously we don't need the middle number. So I added 1. Then I use I less than each r dot length here because we want I to stop at the end of the array. And because the array is 0 indexed, the actual length of the array will be 1 more than the number of characters in the array. No, what am I saying? Because it's 0 index, the last index of the array will be 1 less than the actual length of the array. So that's why I used less than and not less than equals to here. So that's why we have this result. So we've got our first half array and second half array. Now we want to filter. Let's see. So we've done this. No, we haven't done this. So we want to create an array of vowels. So let's do that. So create, so const vowels array, so vowels are equals A, E, I, O, U. That's our array of vowels. Then we want to filter, so we've done this now. So we want to take each half and filter the halves array. So we want to take, so let's const filter first half filter. So first half filter array equals first half array dot filter. Now dot filter is a higher order function method in JavaScript, so it helps to filter an array based on whatever conditions you set for it. So we're going to set conditions inside filter. So we're going to need to have a callback function. Callback function again is literally just a function. This. Can you freaking speak? Okay, so the callback function is literally just a function defined inside another function. So because the filter method is a function for arrays, defining a function inside of that function will make it a callback function. So our callback function is going to be probably an arrow function. So we mostly use arrow functions when using callback functions. So let's call them each one. Let's call each one item. Let's call each one character as a char. So char. So char, that's arrow function, and we want char. No, we want the vowels array. So that includes is a method used on array. So methods are just like functions that do different things. So the includes method is a function for an array that checks the array if it contains a particular character or particular variable. So for example, we're trying to make sure that the character in the first half array is a vowel. So check if it's a vowel, it has to be one of the vowels in the vowels array. And to also check that, we need to use the voice crack is crazy. We need to use the includes method to check that the character is inside that vowels array. So if it's not, then it knows that it's not a vowel. That's literally how it works. So vowels array does include char. And yeah. So what this filter does is if the character if the vowels array does includes character, returns true. So this includes returns either true or false. If it includes this character in the vowels array, it returns true, so that means it's a vowel. If it doesn't, then it returns false, meaning it's not a vowel. Now, because all our vowels here are lowercase, it's probably smart to use the to lowercase method as well on the character to make sure that character is a lowercase. Because in case if it's an uppercase and it tries to do this, the include is very strict. So if your character is uppercase but it is a vowel and it checks it in the vowels array, it will return false because the vowels array does not include an uppercase vowel for that character. So it's all lower cases. So either I do two things: either one, I convert the character itself into a lowercase, or I just include the uppercases into the vowels array. But because I'm too lazy and I don't want to waste time, I don't want to start doing too much, I'm just gonna use the two lowercase method because that's easier. So this should fit to this properly, and we can check. So the first half of this should be REC. So let's return first half. I'm not gonna type that all out. Let's just copy and paste, shall we? So yeah, there we go. So it filtered out just the A because A is the only vowel there. So what this does is, since this returns true or false, the filter array will only take any character that passes or gets a true for this condition. So that's why I only took A, because R is not vowel. It's not in this array, so it didn't take it. A is part of the array, so it took it. C is not in the array, so it didn't take it. That's why you have A there. Now, because it's literally the same thing for the second half one, we just copy this entire thing. Idiots. Copy it. Like, copy it first. So Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and then C, because this has been declared, is now written an error. So when you use the const can only be used once for one variable name, so you have to change this variable name to second half filter array. And you want to change this to second half array because we're trying to do second half. And the rest should be fine. So we can still use char again because it's a callback function inside the function. So callback functions as well are not defined outside the scope of the function. So they only work inside the function itself. So we can still use char as the value in this callback function here. Let's also return second half filter array. Let's see if that works. Fantastic. So because we have char as well, so it's taking just the A. We can try a different test to make sure that we're getting the right thing, because that's a palindrome, so probably not going to be the most useful thing for the test. V. There we go. What? Yeah. So it took I and U. Yeah, that's the expected outcome. So taking I and U. Now, we've done this, so I want to compare the length of both filtered arrays. Now, honestly, because I'm too lazy to even want to bother to do much anymore from here, you can literally just do the entire return thing from here. If you want to start doing too much, you can do a separate. You can start creating variables for the length of each one, then compare that, but that's just long. So I'm not even going to try to do that. Let's just return it from here. So return first half filter array dot length. So dot length checks length of the array. I don't know why I didn't say that before. So this dot length I'm using the entire time checks the length of the array. Even if you don't know what JavaScript is, surely dot length tells you that that's to check the length of something. So unless you're like dumb, I don't see how you'd mess that up. So the dot length checks the length of the array. So return first half array dot length. This I was supposed to explain this. So this triple equal sign just means that it checks if something is equal to something. Very strictly checks it, because when you have different data types like string and number, sometimes if you use a just normal regular 2 equal to sign, it's gonna like do what they call a type coercion, which means that it forces one of the either the string to turn into a number and then checks if they're the same number. But if you don't want that, if you want to just compare just numbers, we use a triple equal to sign so that we know that it's definitely that number. So we're gonna use that here. The reason why we don't use regular equals to for comparison is because regular equals to is for declaration of variables, so you can't use that to compare two different things in JavaScript. So this equals second half filter array dot length. Now, reason why I'm using just this is because this operation returns true or false. So the reason why I use it here as well, because if this, then this is going to return either true or false. So if it's true, it's going to do this 2 for loops. If it's not, it's going to do something. Oh, I forgot to add what it does if it's not an odd number. Else, so it's an even number. Probably want to do the same thing. Just copy this entire thing here, paste it. What might be the difference? I don't think. Oh, you don't need this +1 because you should start from. Yeah, so that's really different because if this is odd number, that's why we added +1 here. But since this is even number, we don't need +1 there, so that should be fine. Okay, so moment of truth. This is already turning true, so we know that this is correct. This test passes. Let's run the test. Man, we actually got it in one go. Like we didn't even have to check or debug anything. So thank God for that. So that's literally the code. So that's about 25 lines of code. So minus the test because that's not relevant. That's about 25 lines of code. Now, is there a way to make this more efficient? Probably. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this looks a bit long, but I'm not. Should I? Nah. Let's see how long is the video right now. So we are 34 minutes in. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Nah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just use ChatGPT and ask it. All right. So let's check ChatGPT and see if it gets a more refined version of our code. Before we even do that, let's see if it knows what this code does. What does this code do? Fair. He actually knows what he's doing. Okay. Yes, please. Because I'm polite. Damn! 9 lines of code. I just thought of round number. I'm not sure if it's 9 or not. Let's put that there and let's see if it passes it first. If we take away all of these extra comments that we don't need, and that space, that's 10 lines of code. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I think, yeah, that makes sense. Run the test, yeah, success, yeah. So we did 25 lines of code, and ChatGPT did it in less than half of what we did. Yeah, that's quite peak. I think honestly I could have done this much more simpler, but just wanted to make it more simplistic. I don't know how to put it, because what ChatGPT did, I understand what it did, because it's getting the vowels, put them in a set, then it's checked the length of the string. Oh, it didn't need to do the array thing, which we did. Which, let me see, if it goes first half. So it sliced it into half, sliced each one into half. Then it did the test here, so if it's even, it's just made. If it's not, add the 1. Then it counted the vowel by just filtering the string. Yeah, you turn the string. What? Don't filter. I'm gonna pretend like I understand what it did, because I'm a genius. So doesn't matter. But yeah, that was cracking the vowel balance challenge. Honestly, that wasn't that bad for the first time. We got it in one go, which is amazing. I think we can do better in future challenges. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for going through this with us, and comment down below if you have any questions or if there's anything you would like to share about what we've done, if we could do it any quicker, or if there's a better way to do it. You guys know more than I do. So thank you for watching, and bye.